Hi everyone, this is Mindy for My Favorite Things, and today I have a sweet birthday card to share with you today featuring this Sweet Treats stamp set. I'm going to start off by creating my background, and I'm using the watercolor wash background stencil in the rectangle shape. So instead of using my magnetic station, which I normally would do, I instead put some tape on the back of the cardstock so the sticky side is facing up, and then I could place my stencil over the top and just fold that tape over the stencil, and that's going to hold it in place for me. The magnets would have just gotten in the way. I'm using Distress inks today mainly because I really wanted a bright background. So to start off, I'm using Squeezed Lemonade towards the bottom, blending up about a third of the way up of the stencil. Then I'm coming in with Dried Marigold, and I'm going to blend that in the middle, but making sure to go down into that Squeezed Lemonade and then up towards the top a little bit, so I have some room to play with my last color, which is going to be Picked Raspberry. Starting once again at the top there, gliding onto my cardstock over the stencil with my blending tool and blending into that Dried Marigold to make sure I'm getting a smooth transition of color. And then I'm going to just carefully peel back that tape off of the stencil, and it comes off real easily even from the back of the cardstock. So here I have my background ready to go, and I can move on to some images. I'm using these 3 ice cream cones off of this Sweet Treats stamp set. I stamped them on 80-pound white cardstock using the My Favorite Things Extreme Black ink and then coloring them with my Copic markers. I'm using RV 25, 13, and 11. And I'll start by adding that darkest color to the outside of the ice cream cone and dragging it in a little bit to try and show some definition in the ice cream. Now, that wasn't quite dark enough for me, so I did come in with an RV29 as the darkest color. So this ended up being a 4-color combination, but I love the contrast of it all, and then just went through the rest of the colors and blended that out. I was trying to save room for highlights, but sometimes I just run out of room, so I'm going to show you my trick for that. I am taking a white Prisma-colored pencil, and wherever I wanted the highlight to be, I am just lightly coloring that on. So this is a great tip to remember if you tend to be heavy-handed like me and you kind of lose your highlight area. This is a great way to add that back in. For the ice cream cones themselves, I'm going to color these 2 ice cream cones the same way. So I'm using E37, 35, and 33. Once again, having my highlight be kind of in the center. It's just the easiest way for me to color sometimes without having to think about a light source. And I'm going to use that same color combination over here. I'm just picturing this as a smaller cone, but it could be a cup depending what color you color it. Now the snow cone up top I did with a C2 and C0 to try and make it look like a white cup that it's being held in. And then for this ice cream, I wanted it to look like a vanilla cone. So I'm bringing in Y35, 23, and 21. Once again, it just didn't show enough contrast for me. I really like to show some dark shadows when I color. It's just always been a habit of mine. So I came in with Y26 and then went through and blended the rest of those colors. Now this is another one of those images where I really lost my highlight area. So bringing in that white colored pencil to add that back in, and then also added it to the cones. Now this last cone I didn't end up using in my card because I thought it just didn't look quite proportional, or it didn't really seem to fit with my ice cream cones, but I did leave the coloring in just in case you wanted to see that. And I had used BG 15, 13, and 11. I really do like the teal and the yellow and the pink, but as far as just size and proportion, it didn't work for the layout that I wanted to do. I'm going to take the coordinating dies for each of these, hold them down with a low tack tape, and then die cut these out running through my die cut machine. Now for a sentiment, I really like this Happy Happy Birthday stamp set. I love this outline, and I thought the transition of color in the background would look really cool through it. So I placed this in my Misty, and I'm straightening out that word happy with my Misty corner. And I had my ice cream cones in there placed about where they would be so I could figure out placement exactly. Then I picked everything up with the Door of the Misty, and I'm stamping this in the My Favorite Things Extreme Black ink. And I do need to stamp it about 2 or 3 times to make sure I'm getting a really nice crisp impression. I brought my ice cream cones back in and figured out the placement for them. So my pink ice cream cone, I just attached to the card with a tape runner. And then my vanilla ice cream cone, I'm going to add a couple foam squares to add a little bit of dimension to it. So I didn't really want to add any embellishments to this, but I did think it needed some sparkle. So I am taking my shimmer pen and I'm going to add that over all of the open areas of the word happy. And this is just a really great way to add sparkle, but it is liquid, so you may lift up some of that color because Distress ink is water reactive. It almost kind of lightens it, which I hope makes it look stand out a little bit more. After I get that all filled in, I'm going to try and tilt the card a little bit in the light so you can really catch that shimmer. A little hard to see on camera, but in person it looks really cool. And that's going to finish off my sweet treat birthday card. I hope you enjoyed today's card video. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you again real soon.